And you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
On behalf of nonpartisan nonprofit RenoElections.org, we simply want good leaders for Reno. We welcome you. First thing we're going to do is introduce our candidates who are here today. If they'd come up, please. This is Mr. Andrew Caudill. He's the challenger from District C for School Board. His opponent is Deborah Feemster, the incumbent. Ms. Feemster chose not to participate today. This is Ellen Manetto, the challenger for School Board from District B. Her opponent, also a challenger, it's an open seat, is Diane Vanderwell. Ms. Vanderwell chose not to be here today. Running in the at-large District F for School Board, this is Jeff Church. His opponent, Jacqueline Calvert, chose not to be here today. For City Council, running in Ward 4, this is Bonnie Weber. Her opponent is Paul McKenzie, the incumbent. Mr. McKenzie chose not to be here today. Running in for council in Ward 2, this is Joe Lawrence. His opponent, the incumbent Naomi Dewar, chose not to be here today. Finally, running for mayor as a challenger, this is Eddie Lorton. His opponent, the incumbent mayor Hillary Sheevey, chose not to be here today. You might have seen a recent headline in the Reno Gazette-Journal, and the headline asked, "Can you have a debate if half the candidates are not there?" Well, the answer is unequivocally yes, and I'll explain why. In a debate, you have tough questions asked of all the candidates. We will supply the tough questions. Some of you already did also. In a debate, the challengers are asked to respond to those questions, and our challengers will be responding. But also in a debate, your incumbents are asked to respond to the questions. And I would absolutely remind you that our incumbents have responded to the questions. By not showing today, they've made 3 responses. That they really have no explanation for the tough questions we're going to ask. That they don't respect the voters to show up and let you see them face to face. And frankly, that they just hope they get elected without coming to you to show you why. We're going to start with the school board candidates. Before we start with the questions, you might have seen a little bit about RenoElections.org, and the argument by the incumbents is typically that, well, you're not nonpartisan. Look at how hard you're talking about things like the homeless problem, a $1 billion city debt, a school system that ranks 51st in the United States, and a crime rate that is higher than 42% higher than the national average. Well, we remind them, we'll say it right here, we know all the candidates, we love all the candidates, we don't care who gets elected. What we care about is the ideas that get elected and put in office, and you won't know which candidates embody those ideas unless they stand up in front of you and talk to you about what they would do. And so we explained to them, these issues we're talking about, these aren't partisan issues, these are just issues. And to talk about anything less, like they did at the Thursday night debate, is to like be concerned with mowing your yard when your house is on fire. Reno has foundational issues that could and should be addressed. Could you have a more wonderful city than this? Yeah! And if we let it get away, shame on all of us. So we're going to start now. Candidates, if you'd stand up to your mics, please. So before we start, here are the facts about the school district that these people here want to be a part of leading. And the reason we bring them up is because you don't simply hear them or read them much. For 2 years in a row, we've been ranked 51st in the United States in a country that itself ranks 38th in the world. For the last 5 years in a row, if any of you have children, neighbors, grandchildren in our schools, for the last 5 years, if you're in a Nevada school, including Washoe County, your children are ranked last in the entire nation as having a chance for a successful future. When have you heard that? Again, all these sources, they're sourced on our website. You can contact us. These are not just pulled out of the air ideas. You hear about the graduation rate being increased, but over 60% of the children they're giving diplomas to, when they go out to TMCC and they say, I'm ready to start college, they tell them, we'll take this test to see what level of college classes you're ready for. And over 60% of our kids don't qualify for college classes, so they're not really done with high school anyhow. They trusted a system that betrayed them. Our schools have among the highest rates in the nation for drug alcohol abuse, and yet we don't drug test, even though 20% of the schools do. And finally, the superintendent leading our district was last year rated below competent by a ranking firm hired by the school board themselves, and yet they still paid her $411,000 last year, which is $11,000 more than the President of the United States makes. So we'll start with the questions, and away we go. Yes, we'll start first with the candidates and have them introduce themselves, why they're running, and what their qualifications are. Andrew Caudill.
Good afternoon, thanks for having me. My name's Andrew Caudill, running for District C School Board. District C is the northern part of the county, North Valleys, parts of Sun Valley, Spanish Springs, out to Wadsworth, Gerlach. I'm the only one up here challenging an incumbent. Deborah Feemster's voting record is anti-parent, anti-taxpayer. I'm running because this is your school district. This school board ignores you. They ignore your rights. They make decisions without asking you. And if they do ask you, they could care less what you think. I have 4 examples. 1, this school board hired a third party to conduct an investigation into wrongdoing by special education staffers. They spent $30,000 on this third party. The results are in. They voted to hide the results from the public. A judge in Reno ordered them to release the results. They voted 7-0 to say, no, we're not doing it. What is in that report? They're your kids. It was done with your money. We have the right to know. This superintendent, as Paul had said, it does not have the confidence or the trust of the public. But yet they just gave her a contract extension. And Trustee Feemster not only voted for it, she tried to give her more money and more years on her contract, ignoring the public. 2 years ago, this school board, after WC1 was passed, they voted to put co-ed bathrooms in all the new schools at a higher cost with your money, ignoring parents. And finally, the calendar vote. Parents and teachers know about this. They asked the public, which calendar do you prefer out of 4 options? Because they're going to change it. 18,000 people responded for calendar C. They voted for calendar B because that's the one Tracy Davis wanted. The public is being ignored. That is an example of where we are today. The superintendent has been anointed queen. You are in charge. This is your school district. You elect people that represent you, and then we oversee the superintendent. We're in a mess right now because you're being ignored. So that's why I'm running. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm Ellen Minetto, and I'm running for the B District, which is most of Sparks and the lower part of Sun Valley. And thank you for having me here. I'm pleased to be here. I am a retired school teacher. I taught elementary music for 29 years in the district and just retired in July, and I decided I'm going to run for the school board because our children are not represented. Our parents are not represented, and the teachers sure aren't represented. There is so much going wrong, and the fiscal irresponsibility absolutely is ridiculous. The waste and waste and waste. Our schools, these children are not being educated, and that's what I think they need to be, is educated. Graduation rate can say anything you make up, but it means nothing if it's just a piece of paper. That means nothing. The children need to be educated. They need to get what they need to go on in life. And they need the teachers in the classroom. The teachers are not in the classroom. The teachers are subbed out to go to a training, to go to this, to go to that. Not because the teachers want to, but because that's what's mandated to them. The teachers then also have to teach to the testing, which is done at least 4 times a year, probably more. And it's testing, and the poor children using words that, you and I didn't use maybe even in college. But somehow we're dumbing everything down for them, and it's not okay. That's not what's good for our kids. We have no discipline in the schools. The children are running the schools, and it's very scary. Children don't feel safe. Children don't feel loved. And we have to love our kids enough to stop them and help them learn.
Thank you. Jeff Church. Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Church. I'm running for school board. Over at the police car, thank you, sir. Over at the police car, we've got various handout material for you from various candidates. So go over and have a look. And Eddie Orton did tell me that if he gets elected, we'll be able to afford newer police cars than that 1967. So. Now, about me, I am a retired Reno Police Sergeant. I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel. And say, what does that have to do with the school district? It's all about leadership. We don't micromanage, but we have to lead, and that's what I'm going to do. I have 2 college degrees. I previously taught at TMCC Community College and nationwide. I teach recruiting, including teacher recruiting. So that expertise is going to help us get and retain the best possible teachers. I have 3 basic pillars that I'm concerned with. Number 1, student safety. Common sense. With my police background, that's my area of expertise. Student safety is number 1. Number 2, fiscal responsibility. We have to be frugal. Did you know that Washoe County is the largest budget for local government outside of Clark County? Larger than Reno. And by the way, Hillary didn't have far to walk if she wanted to been over here for the debate. But our budget is higher than any other local government outside of Clark County. It's a $1 billion budget when you count the bonding. And yet we have a $30 to $60 million deficit. In this year, 2019, we have 3 new schools opening. I just found out, no teachers. They're not hiring, they're gonna open the building, there's no teachers to put in them, there's no money. So this is outrageous. I'm willing to take it on, and I look forward to answering the questions. Thank you. Thank you. The candidates are gonna answer questions in 3 basic areas: improving academics, safe, respectful behavior, and drug alcohol abuse in our schools. We explained why the academics is important. Our children are not to blame. They're trusting the students, the teachers, they're trusting the school that when they give them a diploma, that what they're having them do, that they're going to be prepared to go out there. And while some are, far too many are not. So the first question to the candidates is how to do it. So the question for each of you is, tell us what specific actions you would take as a board member to increase academic learning. We know it's bad. How are you going to make it better? Ellen, we'll start with you.
Well, I will reiterate. We need to keep the teachers in the classroom. They are out all kinds of places. They have roving subs going from classroom to classroom to classroom to classroom so that the teachers can be out at data day or something. And the teachers want to be teaching. So if we keep the teachers in the classroom, that should surely help with the education. Once again, we need to have some discipline back in our schools. Our children deserve feeling safe and feeling loved. And I think when it's all touchy-feely and it's not your fault, and we just too often say, you're not worth stopping, and that's not okay, because children who are not led in guidelines do not feel safe or loved. And we need to stop testing and testing and testing. It's just absolutely ridiculous what happens in the public schools, and I've been there for 29 years, and it's ridiculous. Test and test and test for sometimes up to 2.5 months at a time. That's what they do, is test, 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 and the teachers have to teach to the test because it reflects on them somehow instead of getting to teach what they're passionate about, the education of children and learning and growing and developing and becoming the wonderful adults they can be.
Thank you. Jeff, same question. What specific actions would you take to increase academic learning?
Well, again, I think we become babysitters, not educators. It's a real problem in our schools. There's many factors. I had a person come to me and say, I work graveyard, casino work, my wife works swing shift, the kids running amok, and then the school inherits that problem. So one of the answers is to work with the city, the county, the state to keep these kids out of trouble. And I have some very specific ideas, and I think I'll address that in some of the later questions. Again, 3 new schools, no bodies to put in them. If you don't have good teachers, how can you have good performance? The special ed program, one of the biggest problems is that the teachers don't stay. We have to retain them. And I know there's some other questions coming up I'm going to address on that, but if the superintendent can't do it, we need to hire some outside experts that are going to come in. I don't claim to be an expert, and I'm not going to micromanage, but I want to get the best people possible to tell us how to dig ourselves out of this hole. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew.
Yeah, I favor deregulation of our school system. We have too many central administrators making too much money that are going out to our schools, and they're telling us what to do. They're telling principals and teachers what to do. Teacher morale is very low. Just think if you're a teacher. Teachers don't get in the business to make money. They don't. They want to teach their kids, but they're not given the supplies. They don't have enough textbooks. But then administrators making $200,000 a year, their car is paid for by tax dollars. But teachers don't have books. Administrators get cars, teachers don't have books. You deregulate the system, you throw out central administrators, you put control of the schools back into the hands of the people. Right. We're failing. That is why we're failing. And the last point is, we need a new superintendent. Tracy Davis is not getting it done. We need a new leadership in our schools, do a national search, find someone that has a track record of fixing a broken school system, stop promoting within. The system is broken, it's failing. You keep promoting failed administrators to the superintendent job, nothing is going to change. That is how we're going to fix it. New leadership, put control back into your hands. Thanks.
Thank you. Jeff, we'll start with you on this one. The topic is safe, respectful behavior. Annette, a local resident, sent in this question. She asks to the board candidates, what are you willing to do to ensure that children are safe at school? I tried for 6 months to talk to the school board about a safety problem with my granddaughter, but no one would talk to me. Now, Annette's question is pretty relevant because the number 1,200 might not mean anything to you out of context. That's how many teachers in the nation are assaulted 5 days a week, every day in our schools. And of course, Reno has their share of that. School shootings occur far too often. If you've been to our new schools lately, they're building them almost like prisons. How much more could they be built? How much more security could you have? So the question to the candidates is, what specific actions would you take as a board member to make our schools safe and respectful? And again, not just counting what you hear about, but beyond that, what can we do from within? Jeff, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Sure. Number one, I, being a retired law enforcement officer, this is a softball pitch for me. Thank you very much. With my law enforcement expertise, I understand school safety. I've been trained in active shooter. I've supervised the schools, so I understand the problem. I'm probably the only person running, and I'm certain my opponent didn't go down, attended the Governor's School Safety Task Force. I submitted about a 4-page document with my expertise on things we can do. Number one is the technology in the schools. We can't have a cop everywhere. It would bankrupt the system. You'd need 2 or 3 cops per school. That takes away from the teachers. Modern technology, there's so many things we can do. The ships that go through with, remember the Somalian pirates? Now these ships have all kinds of acoustics, all kinds of loud microwaves, and those are things that actually we have studied and would work in the schools to disorient an attacker. Meanwhile, you have a safe, essentially a locked, bulletproof area where the technician, doesn't have to be a cop, tells the first responders where the suspect is, where the suspect's going, directs the students out, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I wish I could come and say that I had a magic solution, and I don't. But there's, with technology, with getting to the kids early for the mental health issues, there's many, many things we can do that we're not doing. And by the way, the School Safety Task Force meets again next week, and I'll be there again, and I'll be there for every meeting that I can. Thank you.
Thank you.
For me, we have WC1 tax, so you build safe schools. That's what you start with. It makes no sense with all the information that we have that we don't build safe schools. We don't know what's going on in our schools. And the reason is because the board meetings are at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday in downtown Reno, where central administrators who are not in the schools are telling the board what's happening. They got no clue. So I'll be telling them, I want to hear from someone in the schools. And how we do that is we need to stop having board meetings at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. You have them at 7 p.m., you rotate around the county, you hear from the parents, you hear from the teachers. We can't fix the problem if we really don't know what the problem is because we're not being told. We need more police and more counselors. The marijuana money's sitting out there in 2019 for a legislature to divvy out. Washoe County Schools needs to make sure that they're getting some of that money, and we need more counselors and more police to help with the law enforcement side and the counselors to help with the mental health side so that the teachers can teach. Sending the kids out of the school doesn't help society because at some point down the line they're going to be back in the system. We need to do more to help our kids in our schools, and we need to know what's going on in our schools, and that is from the people that are in the schools every day, not central administrators telling us that they think they know when they really got no idea. Thank you.
Ellen, same question. How do we make our schools more safe and more respectful?
I'm all for more counselors who are serious about counseling. People need to be listening to the teachers and the people in the schools. I taught a kindergartner once who I could tell something wasn't right, and I would be yelling and screaming for years till he was in 3rd grade when somebody else decided that something's not right. Well, that's not right. We need to be listened to. The teachers, meaning the teachers who aren't retired, need to be listened to. The counselors need to be serious about counseling our kids. We need to be so aware of, and we have to be in touch with the parents. The parents are such an important part of this whole picture. And keep everything open and everything flowing and everything transparent, as the word is. And we need to hopefully save these children before they do something really, really, really foolish.
Thank you. The last question is about drug and alcohol use. Nationwide, on any given day in any high school class, 1 out of 5 students in there is under the influence of a controlled substance. And that's what they admit to. Nationwide, 20% of all our high schools drug test. There's many ways to do it that the courts have repeatedly found perfectly legal. Washoe County has not chosen to do drug testing of any kind. As a board member, what would be your position on drug testing students? And students, you might appreciate this. Also, what would be your position on drug testing teachers right along with you? If the drugs are no good for you, they're no good for them either. Okay, so we'd start with this. Andrew, if you'd respond, please.
I fully support the random drug testing of teachers and staff in our schools. They have no business stepping in the front door if they're high or whatever. When it comes to students, I believe you need probable cause. Just randomly drug testing minors, I believe, is a violation of the rights of parents. However, if there's probable cause for it, I support it, but there has to be probable cause that will stand up in the court of law. If it's not going to stand up in the court of law, it's a violation of parental rights. You need parent signature to randomly drug test their kids. But the staff, absolutely, random drug testing. If we have no use for you if you can't come to work not stoned or drunk. So thank you.
Thank you. Ellen.
And I totally agree with that. And I believe it should start at the administrative level as well. Everybody needs to be randomly drug tested. I do think that it would be neat to open the door to the parents who are concerned and thinking, something's not right with my child, that they can come to school and then with the sign-off, they could have their child tested and find out and hopefully get some help for that child. Yeah, but I agree that high teachers and high administrators and high people in high places in the schools is not what should be going on. I fully support random drug testing.
Thank you. Jeff.
I agree with both speakers. As a retired police sergeant, I can tell you firsthand, I know there are teachers that are using drugs. It's not just marijuana. We're talking hardcore drugs. So I absolutely support random drug testing for teachers, for those that drive vehicles that work for the school district, or anybody that interacts with the kids. And I love Ellen's idea that if you think something's wrong with your kid, bring them down, and with your permission, you sign the form, we give them testing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to close this portion with the school board candidates by having them each give a summary statement. Candidates, again, we know what's wrong with our schools. You hopefully know more now than you knew when we started this afternoon. We want the candidates to share their future vision for if they get elected to a 4-year term, 4 years from now if you voted for them. Please tell the voters what would your vision be for what the schools would become and why you deserve their vote.
I didn't mention this earlier, but I serve as Director of Academic Services for the football program at UNR. And in my time there, we've gone from 122nd nationally to 8th in academic performance. And we do that by working with our kids individually, serving their individual needs, helping them, not leaving them behind. In our current system, our ACT scores are last in the nation, but all the school district says is that's because we test every kid. If you ever hear that, and I'm elected, you tell me, because they need to go. That is code for not every kid matters. That kid's not going to go to college. Who cares what their score is? Absolutely it matters. We need complete leadership change in our school district, complete. From the superintendent, central administration, school board, they all need to go. Deborah Feemster is not here because she's assumed she's going to be reelected. She's the incumbent. Read the RGJ this week. Her platform for running is she's no longer afraid to vote against her current school board member, her colleagues. That's a red flag. She should be terribly afraid to vote against you, the public, since you elect us. And she's fully trained because you need training to know you represent constituents when you're elected office. That's the platform. My platform is local control. You're in charge. These are your schools. It's your money. It's your kids. We need to start talking to you. We need to start coming to you to figure out what's going on. We need your input. And when you give it to us, we need to listen to you. It's not a checkbox saying, oh yeah, you told us what you thought. Thank you. You can go away now. We need to listen to you and do what you say. If we start doing that, we're going to see morale of our teachers go up. We're going to see our performance go up. And we're going to get more trust from the legislature, and maybe they'll give more money to the school district. That's never going to happen as long as we have poor leadership. You need a school board that represents you. The three of us were just endorsed by Power to Parent, the parental rights watchdog of the state of Nevada. Parents, if you want people who are going to stand up for your rights, represent you because they're your kids, we are it. The ones that are not here today, they're not for you. They're for the system. They're for the superintendent. They're for the powerful bureaucracy to waste your money because it's all about their pocketbooks. We need complete change. And I believe I'm the one that's going to do it for District C. So Andrew Caudill, District C, thank you all very much for coming.
Ellen. Thank you, Andrew.
Well, once again, I'm Ellen Minetto, District B, most of Sparks, Southern Sun Valley. I believe I could represent our children. I believe I could represent our dear, dear teachers and the parents. I'm so with Andrew on this, that we have to have meetings when people can come. Every time I'd hear about these meetings that I couldn't go to because I was teaching, I thought, well, what are they doing? What are they voting on? What secret are they keeping? What don't they want us to know? That's not okay. School board members are voted by the public. We need to be listening to the public. They're the ones that we need to be doing what they're letting us know. I am totally in there for the kids, for the parents, and I love the teachers I've worked with over the years, and they deserve better, but our children really, really deserve way better. We need to educate our children, not just push them through with a dummy-down program.
Thank you. Jeff.
The Monty Ranch High School cost $35 billion to build. They said if you voted for WC1 sales tax increase, the next high school was going to be $110 million. That's a lot. Now they've said, oops, $220 million. Washoe County, a year ago, had an auditor. The auditor is no longer there. No auditor for the entire billion-dollar budget. The president of the board promised me in April of this year they would get an auditor to look specifically at the building costs. Hasn't happened. She testified the other day against an auditor. I was lied to. That's why I'm running for school board. I want change. You can't believe them. They're deceitful. We have to have fiscal responsibility. Now let me ask you a question. If you're running $1 billion business and you bring in a director and she brings in all her cronies and your business is losing money and your rating, we'll call it the ACT, goes from 18.1 2 years ago to 18 to 17.9, and your competitor's rating is 21, that's the national average, what would you do? Give her a raise? Give her a new contract? No, you clean house and you bring in new people. Nothing, and I said, well, isn't she paid a lot? I said, if she could bring us from number 50 to number 40, should be worth every penny. But she didn't. Again, the ACT scores went down. And Paul, I slightly disagree. The stats for Washoe County, 85% ACT scores are not college ready. 85%. And again, yeah, the diploma rate's great. They stopped testing. I've got some in the trunk of my car. If you want a diploma, I'll get you one right now. So I'll give you a good deal. So I appreciate it. Jeff Church for school board. Thank you very much. Come over and chat with me.
Thank you to all the candidates. I can't tell you enough how important this race is. It often is understated. Whoever gets elected to school board, the lives of 64,000 children are in their hands and their parents. Those children are released out into our community to either benefit it or have to be supported by us. Some years ago, the Carnegie Foundation did a report about our public schools, and they said, it's in the classrooms of America that the battle for its future will be won or lost. And sitting at 51st with the statistics we have, we're not winning it right now. The good news, we can start. And starting to win the battle for our schools starts with electing good leaders. So again, we couldn't cover all the questions today. The candidates would love to hear from you. You can go to our website, renooelections.org, and see their positions on a number of issues. All we ask is two things. We need more people voting, and we need more informed voters. And the premise of America has been that if you have informed voters and people vote, somehow effective leaders end up in office. Well, we still believe that's true. We believe whatever your decision, if you're an informed voter, you'll make a good choice. Thank you to the candidates. Welcome our candidates for city council and mayor. To my far left, we have Bonnie Weber. In the middle, we have Eddie Lorton for mayor. To my immediate left, Joe Lawrence. First thing we're going to do is take 2 minutes each and summarize why they're running for office. You know, this is something that doesn't get appreciated, no matter who the candidate is. You don't get wealthy doing it. You get more criticism than praise. You're away from your family constantly. You're spending your own money to do it. The community should be thankful that anyone wants to run for office. So we appreciate all the candidates in that regard. But so a 2-minute introduction, who you are and why you're qualified. We'll start with you, Bonnie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry, I had to take my shoes off. I'd probably fall down up here on the stage. So I'm Bonnie Weber, and I'm running for Reno City Council Ward 4 because I want to be your voice on the Reno City Council. I love Reno and Ward 4, where my family has lived for 32 years, and I'm so proud that my grandchildren have been raised in Ward 4 as well. Ward 4 has been the neglected stepchild under the incumbent. We are tired of not having a voice representing us in the ward, and I hope to become a voice of reason and common sense on the City Council. My experience serving on the Washoe County Commission for 12 years and the many other boards and commissions make me uniquely qualified to face the challenges we see in the city of Reno today. City government should be small enough to leave you alone, but large enough to be there when you need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Eddie Lorton.
Sorry, Joe. The other one's too short. Hi, my name's Eddie Lorton. I'm running for mayor. I'm so glad to see the turnout today. I want to thank you for taking the time out and being here. Well, first off, Hillary, come down, please. There's constituents who want to hear from you. Okay? Yeah. Well, what I have to say is this. If it came for the developers, look at the C&E reports, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the developers and the casinos give her that go before the council. She shows up for them, but she doesn't show up for you. I'm a strong businessman that got involved. I ended up having to go to council meetings for 32 years to protect my investments from some of the seedy goings on at the city. So now it turned into a way of me going to council meetings to learn the system inside and out to protect my investments, turned into a way to help 250, 300,000 people. How often can you do that in your life? So I'm here to embrace that, move our city forward so we can forge together. I think our city's at a crossroad right now. I think we're going to become San Francisco. We're not. You've looked around over the last 6 years that my competitor has been on this council, and all the problems have gotten worse. So all of a sudden we're getting a media blitz. If you've seen it on TV to where they have all the fix-alls for all the problems we've had over the last 6 years, but don't be fooled by that because we're down right now into the last 3 weeks before an election cycle. So I hope the people are paying attention. I have a 2022 plan that can resolve all the problems. And then the Gazette-Journal wants to question certain things on that. And that is a fact that I'm into real estate, have been for a long time. We can sell city-owned surplus property. And Hillary had quoted the fact that I'm going to sell off parks, okay? Those aren't the properties I'm talking about. Let's go to the ones that the casinos control. How about the ballroom down there? That piece alone is worth $65 million. So here we are under the control of the Caranos. They use it 5 days a year, and they control that. But am I running out of time? Okay, I'm getting low, but there's a lot of nuts and bolts we can talk about. I'm here to serve the community, and I hope on Election Day you vote Eddie Lorton for mayor. Thanks for being here, and thank you for your time very much. Thanks.
Thank you. Joe Lawrence.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joe Lawrence, running for Reno City Council, Ward 2. I was born in this town at St. Mary's Hospital. My mom was a blackjack dealer for 46 years. She's out in the crowd today. So I'm truly a native, son of a blackjack dealer. Went to Reno High School. I put myself through college by joining the Nevada Air National Guard, where I was served for 8 years. I was an Eagle Scout when I was younger. My senior prom was in the Mape Sky Room that used to stand on this parcel right here. That's how local I am. I wasn't only born here, I've already got my burial plot. I'll be buried at Mount View Cemetery, so I'm not going anywhere. So I'm truly a local. And the reason why I'm running is I love this city. While many of my friends left this city and moved to other communities, I stayed here, started a small business. My wife and I own Silver Blue Signs and Media, signs company here in town. Before that, I started Legend Sports Bar and Grill and ran Legend Sports Bar and Grill for 10 years. So I know what it's like to not only sign the front of the paycheck, but sign the back of the paycheck. I know what it's like to have employees and their families depending on you. I know what it was like when in 2008, 9, and 10 when the economy went in the toilet. I know how hard that can be. I want to make Reno better than it is today. The best of Reno is yet to come as long as we get together and we have strong leadership. Not dealing with small, low-air issues, but let's deal with the real strong issues. I think the Reno Police Department, the people that are serving out there, I already thanked some of them today. Violent crime particularly is going up. The moniker, the motto, the slogan, the biggest little city in the world, it's never been more true. We have a lot of issues we need to tackle. You know, proclamations don't pave potholes. We have issues to deal with. We have homeless situation to deal with, and that's why I'm running. Joe Lawrence for Reno City Council Ward 2.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, the candidates will have 2 minutes each on 4 topics. And the first one is important to everybody. As you know, in your own personal finances, if your money's not right, the car you were going to buy, whether or not you mow the lawn, what your kids are doing, etc., kind of comes in second because you have to take care of your ability to sustain your home. Well, here's the facts about Reno's money. In January, the Mayor and City Council presented a State of the City address and stated proudly that they've reduced our debt by $200 million in their last 3 years. So RenoElections.org, we're impartial. We went to City Hall 3 separate times and talked to the Finance Department and looked up the annual financial report, and the Finance Department that is hired by the council said that was absolutely false. Said that there was a confusion over paying a debt off for $200 million and simply restructuring a loan. So imagine you have a 30-year mortgage and you're paying $1,000. Let's say a 15-year mortgage and you're paying $1,000. So you restructure it to 30 years, your payment goes down to $500. Has your debt been paid off more? No, you're just going to pay it longer, there'll be more interest. Meanwhile, you're accruing more debt. So you've got the people who run the city's checkbook saying they reduced it by $200 million. You've got the people who absolutely record the figures saying it's false, and the debt is not 400, not 700. Go on our website, it takes you to the link. It's almost $1 billion. They don't even count the pensions that are just accruing and accruing and accruing. So, our question to the candidates is, if you might have seen our ad, the candidates say the incumbents say it went down by $200 million. Their finance department says it hasn't gone down $1. Folks, it's a tough thing to say, but somebody's lying. And so our question to the candidates is, who is it? And what would you do to get our financial things in order and to make it transparent and get us. You only restructure a debt when you're worried about bankruptcy. When have those words ever come out of the mouth of anyone sitting in City Hall? So these are very serious. We'll start with Eddie, I'm sorry. We'll start with Eddie on this. Who's not telling the truth and what would you do about it?
Glad to answer that. Thanks for the question. Well, for one, this is the kind of math they do at the city of Reno. A couple of years ago, we were $500 million in debt when Andrew Klinger was our city manager. Notice how we were $500 million in debt but they said we had $11 million surplus. How does that happen? What kind of math is that? They said we only had 50 homeless people. Now they claim we only have 200. Go along the river and go through our town and see what kind of math is that. So there's a point in time when you have to really look at the information you're getting, because even at our debate the other day, she said she was responsible for the King's Inn. She wasn't. Took credit for Tesla. She had nothing to do with it. And the lowest unemployment rate of all time. That's nationally, has nothing to do with it. So you got to look at the facts. Who's giving them to you? My facts are straight. So I have this 2022 plan that's going to pay off our debt. And what that encompasses is this. I'll get into it. What that encompasses is selling all city-owned surplus properties. It's not parks. It's not things we use. It's those that they donate to special interest groups like the whale people, where they gave away 6 acres of our riverfront property that was worth $5 billion and gave it to them for free. So we own the ballroom down there we could sell for $65 million. We own the bowling stadium. We own the event center. There's lots of pieces that could be sold off, and Forbes magazine just backed up my plan. I've been seeing it for 6 years, and there's an article on it that in Michigan and Detroit, they sold off their surplus properties and they endorsed it, paid down their PERS debt. So my plan's a good one. What it'll do is pay our debt off in full. Imagine Reno's debt paid off in full. Secondly, a blight initiative cleanup program through development, through the blighted pieces. It frees up city employees to work on your parks without hiring any more people. And then when it gets out of the liability, we pay insurance on these pieces. And then last but not least, it puts it on the tax rolls. They don't pay taxes on these properties that the city owns. And my time's up, but then we can also not get rid of your tax cap, which you're pushing for, which will increase housing costs. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Bonnie.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to share with you what the incumbent in Ward 4 has stated. And he said about the debt, if you just look at the debt, which has been paid off, the money saved through restructuring of debt and the reductions, and he goes on and on and on about how they've really worked on this, you will find the $200 million debt, which has been reduced since 2014. I say, Mr. McKenzie, you're paying off debt, which you are obligated to do, and you continue to add to the debt. The financial report's wording is very misleading, and it's the people that are giving you the information, right, that is giving us all sorts of different information, which is not clear, nor is it open, or is it transparent. It's time to make a change.
Thank you. Joe.
Well, the council members, the incumbents, they talk about the debt the way they talk about everything else. They simplify it, they dumb it down to make it sound really good. They're really good at putting icing on a cake. I'm more interested in what's in the cake. I'm more interested in the fundamentals of the city government. I'm more interested in, are the streets getting paved properly? Are the potholes getting fixed? Is it taking me forever to get to work because of traffic? I'm more interested in the fundamentals. They're really good at proclamations, putting icing on the cake, taking all of these financial numbers and boiling it down to one sentence and saying that the debt's been reduced by $200 million. There's a new finance director for the city of Reno. I've spoken with her 3 different times. I spoke with her yesterday even, and she was going to try to explain to me how they come to these numbers, but I have to put in a public information request to get the information. So that's what it takes. I've actually put 3 different public information requests in, and you can do this as a citizen, to find out what my opponent, Naomi Dewar, to find out what she's emailing about, to find out how many council meetings she's going to or not going to find out how many votes she's making or not making. Honestly, what you need to do is ask hard questions, and if you can't do it, ask me to do it, because that's what I'm doing, asking hard questions. We're here to solve problems, people. And that's why we're running, and that's why I'm running for Reno City Council Ward 2. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Joe. Our next subject we could spend all afternoon on, the homeless issue. We saw it firsthand today. Got here about 7 o'clock this morning and just watched countless men under the influence, most mentally ill, just lying here in stupors in the sun. Well, the question is, and the word compassion applies to both sides, it's clear which side or the other a person is on with the homeless issue. And the best way to see a comparison of them is to go over on 4th and Record Street, and on the corner you have the Gospel Sparks Reno Mission, and next door you have the City of Reno homeless shelter. Now, in the City of Reno homeless shelter, the curfew is 11 o'clock. You can use drugs and alcohol, and they use them inside and out. I have firsthand knowledge of this. You aren't required to get a job, and you may be absolutely almost a danger to yourself mentally, and you're not required to get mental health counseling. Understandably, it's a mess. It's no place you'd want to go. Now you go next door to the Reno Sparks Gospel Mission. They have to be clean and sober if they're going to be in the program. They have to work. They have to accept counseling. And the place is clean. And the men are wonderful to deal with. And they have countless success stories. The city's plan that they're pursuing is just an expansion of addressing the homeless problem like they do at the shelter, not requiring anything. And they identify that as compassionate because they're not expecting anything of these people, not asking them to do what they can to help themselves. If you've ever had family members or friends or even yourself, if someone made it easy for you to keep using or to avoid dealing with mental illness, who did that ever help? Whereas on the other hand, the gospel mission approach is simply that the most compassionate way you do is tell someone, if I'm going to help you and I want to, you have to do what you can to help yourself first. So our question to the panel is, which approach do you favor in helping the homeless? We have underway, you've heard about this ambassador program. I have firsthand knowledge with it. The city I came from did it for 6 years. Things got worse. The city's it's losing population rapidly, and it's absolutely sad. Reno's is not yet to that point, but this is what's being promoted. There's many articles in the paper now. So the question to the candidates is, what would you do about this homeless issue? How do we solve it? 2 minutes each, please. We'll start with Joe.
Well, the homeless situation in Reno is one of the main reasons, one of the key reasons why I'm running for Reno City Council. I'm a member of Hope Community Church, and once a month, Hope goes down and feeds the homeless with a lot of other faith-based organizations. So I've been down there and I've seen who's coming to eat the food on Saturdays. And it's not what the mayor said recently. It's not because the homeless are not homeless because they don't have enough income. The homeless are homeless because there's mental health and addiction issues are the top two driving factors for homelessness. So Eddie Lorton has some interesting ideas about with the county, and if we can use some of those ideas or follow some of those ideas, I'm definitely interested in looking at those ideas. But I had a family member. I don't know how many of you have had a family member that's been homeless, but I had a close family member who was missing and homeless for several weeks. Ultimately, my family member passed away. So I can talk about this. It's therapeutic for me to talk about it, but how many of you have walked the streets of Reno looking for your family member? Looking in the parks, looking in the casinos. I've lived that experience, so I can talk about it in a different way. And I think what we need is leadership. I just talked to a county commissioner a couple of days ago, amongst other people I've talked to. Reno's trying to do certain things, Sparks is trying to do certain things, and the county's trying to do certain things. There's no real core leadership that's bringing it all together. My proposal, specifically, just like we have the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority in charge of promoting our community, we need We need a board to deal with mental health, addiction, and homelessness. We have a funding source already. We already have a funding source, but we need leadership. We need to attack this problem. We can't have 3 different governmental agencies and then the state all doing their own thing. It takes leadership. We have to get in the trenches, and we can do it together. And that's another reason why I'm running for Reno City Council.
Thank you. Bonnie.
Thank you so much. This is a huge issue for our area and for our region, and I believe as a county commissioner, when I was a county commissioner, this was a huge issue then, and it's continued to increase. As a commissioner, I often said, why isn't the county taking charge in this area? Why is the city of Reno even involved? And the administration of Reno did their things, and Washoe County did our things as a commissioner. And it just didn't make sense that we didn't allow Washoe County to be the leader, since they are the ones that get the funding and they have the social services department that can handle most of this. But recently, the city of Reno has adopted plans, and I know that they've been adopted already. So I'm also wondering how we can get them to do some of these other plans, because the Reno Sparks Gospel Mission is absolutely great on taking people in and working with them. We don't need people to be on the streets. It's not okay to be homeless. It's not okay to be homeless from our perspective as individuals, that we're allowing folks to be out there being homeless, but we need to let the homeless folks know that there are resources and there's ways to get help. I agree 100% that most of the homeless folks are have the mental health issues and addictions. Where can we go and where can we help them? I believe that it needs to be us stepping in, and I believe we need to do it as a region. Washoe County in charge. We're working with faith-based, private enterprise, and all of us together can make this work.
Thank you, Bonnie. Eddie.
Well, see the sign behind me? I believe we can do better, okay? I ended up that's what got me involved originally. They promised no homeless shelter downtown or strip club, and they lied. I bought investments at a young age to where I buy in appreciation districts on 4th Street. They appreciate the most. They lied and put it downtown, because the old council put it down there because it was close to the casino, so they could take advantage of the less fortunate. They were making $1 million a year off the casinos, off of their checks. That's terrible. So then look how the problem is multiplied. So this is my plan. It has been for over 30 some years when I had to start going to council meetings on account of it. And look how it's multiplied. So my plan is this. You've seen me win at the Supreme Court. We set case law for term limits. I honor what people say. We made the ballpark pay their taxes. This council couldn't get them to do it in 7 years. We gave them a month deadline, they paid. So now let's get into the homeless problem. I'm telling you 1,000%, and I've been saying this all along, the county's responsible to place and pay for the homeless issue. We've been over $30 million into this thing from your tax dollars. And not only that, now they did a new BID, so my building's getting assessed too. So I'm paying twice for a non-city issue. And you know the saddest part of all? They're accountable. We're going to litigate and hold them accountable and move it out of the downtown core, and this is why. Put yourself in their shoes for a minute, and I did that. Say, for instance, you're across the street in a tent, you get your check, and there's alcohol, drugs, prostitution, gambling, all within walking distance, okay? What are you going to do? You're going to drown yourself into whatever's happening to try to forget about the moment of the day. So that's why I'm saying it's a disservice to have in the downtown core, let alone what it's doing to our police force. You call them, they can't be there. My time's almost up. And so we move it out to the county. It also does them a service. We're doing them a disservice. So then they're more likely to get involved in programs to get back on their feet and get back into the life. So that's my plan. Thank you. Sorry. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Our last category is crime. Bonnie, we're going to start with you. Lily, a local resident, posed this question to all the candidates. How will you restore downtown to make it safe again? There's a thing called the Sperling Guide, well known, and it rates best places to live in the United States. They list violent crime in Reno as 42% higher than the average. 2 nights ago, the mayor stood up and congratulated the city for lowering the violent crime rate. If you go look at the violent crime rate, murder and aggravated assault are up. It's just so misleading. The question is, what is causing Reno's crime rate to stay so high? And what would you as a council member specifically do about it? Bonnie, 2 minutes.
Thank you. The crime rate is truly high, and it's evident. For me, I'm taking it back to my ward. And in my ward, which has no officers, deputies patrolling, I think it's really important that we consider law enforcement as our #1 issue and budget, besides all the others, there's many. But we need to have officers on the streets. We need to have officers in our neighborhoods. And they need to be able to have a jail to put those folks in as well when we find them. So my point is out in the North Valleys, out in Ward 4, we need to have unity and we need to bring people together, because when we have police officers patrolling in our neighborhoods, which they haven't done in many years, I don't know if any of you have noticed, they don't really patrol any longer. And we need to have that same unity with them, knowing our neighbors and seeing what's going on in our neighborhoods. And for me, in Ward 4, and I will work with the rest of the council, but I need to pay attention to Ward 4 and what's happening out there. And the violent crime is out in that area as well. And I look forward to working with the council to bring this together.
Thank you, Bonnie. Joe. What's to blame for the crime rate? How would you bring it down?
Well, it's never been more true that Reno really is the biggest little city in the world. And crime is part of that. You know, we've gone through a bit of a transformation the last few years. We've got more brew pubs and more architecture and things like that in the city than we've ever had. But what else do we have? We have more crime, more violent crime. Anybody on that neighborhood app? Anybody have that app where you can, I live in DeMonte Ranch area. I've lived in several different places in this community over the years, but right now I live in the DeMonte Ranch area, and there's just a rash of burglaries going on right now in the Curdy Ranch area. And when the neighbors call the police, they don't have the time or the resources to do anything about it. They really don't. It's not the police's fault. It's a matter of priorities. It's about where we put our money. The marijuana initiative, I was for medical, but not for recreational, but it passed. That's the law. Over $1 million in taxes are going into the City of Reno's general fund this year. It's going into the general fund and getting split up into all the different segments. What we need 400 police officers on the street now. We have fewer police officers on the street now than we had in 1989. Can you imagine that? Fewer Reno police officers on the street right now than in 1989, 1990, and look how our community's grown. I'm proposing that we lobby the legislature to add 2% to the marijuana tax, only 2%, and that those additional revenues, instead of being put into the general fund, need to go to fully fund the police department of the city of Reno. We need to give them the resources to fight the crime and to be there and to do what needs to be done. That's one plan. I've got others. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Eddie.
Okay, I've been waiting for this one. So, Now let's get back to finance. I'm a finance person, and I know the city's only job is police, fire, and public works. Not worrying about Paris climate control, not spending money on art or redoing the arch, okay? It means police, fire, and public works. Our city subsidizes billionaires, okay? Look what they did over at the ballpark. Gave them $1 million a year subsidy. You know how many police we could have put on the streets with that money? They gave another developer at the Park Lane Mall project, which the mayor's friend is a lobbyist for, $3.6 million out of your sewer fund. I filed an open meeting law violation, and it was an open meeting law violation for the Attorney General, but they chose not to take action. I'm protecting your dollars. So what you do with those dollars, you can make the biggest bang for your buck. We need more police on the streets, but once again, my homeless plan, you know their number one call of service? Over at the homeless shelter. That's why if you live off of Marsh Avenue or 4th Street in Reno, they can't come to you because they're busy at the homeless shelter in Remsa too. So you got to have a big heart, but I just want to hold those accountable to place and pay for it. You saw how the county got out of the fire deal, didn't you? Okay, because they were smart. Well, we're going to get out of the homeless business because we're going to be smart. We'll have plenty of money. Quit subsidizing billionaires out of your tax dollars, and let's spend the money where it should be. Right now, our community is in an economic upswing. So because of that situation, you've seen the mayor in their last 6 years, what they've done, drove our city into the ground. So now is a chance to go in a new direction where San Francisco or not. That's with me. I'm going to look out for your tax dollars, and that's a promise because I believe in our city. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You've been a great audience. You've just got to sit tight for 3 more minutes, 1 minute from each of them. We're going to hold them tight to this. It would seem that electing someone to run your community in a way is kind of like taking a really leap of faith when you marry somebody. You don't really know everything about them, but you know enough good things about them that you say this is worth taking a chance. And so it's no exaggeration to say this debate today will do huge things to decide Reno's future. The people that go on the council for mayor, for school board, will have huge impact on all of us. So each of the candidates has 1 minute to say, why should you trust them? Why should you vote for them as one of the people who will lead this wonderful, biggest little city in the world into the future? Can we trust you, and why? We'll start with you. Joe, 1 minute.
Boy, I wish I had more than 1 minute. Well, I said in the outset, I was born and raised here, and I'm not going anywhere. And I have 3 kids, raised my kids here. And really what we need to do is we need to solve these major problems together. And I think it's going to take someone who knows the background of where we've been, knows where we're at, and have dreams for the future. And that's what I see for our city. I don't want the city to turn into San Francisco. I want the city to be all that it can be. And I need your help. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. And right now in the council, there are 6 left-wing liberals and 1 moderate Republican. And that's the fact. You put 6 liberals in a room together, what's going to happen? A whole lot of nothing. We need balance. We need balance. Elect me, elect us, and help give us the balance that we need to move this city forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Bonnie.
I'm running for Reno City Council because the incumbent does not represent us in Ward 4. Let's not mince words. The incumbent in Ward 4 is a full-time, paid union boss. I'm not against unions. My dad was a union teamster back in the day under Jimmy Hoffa. But I don't want Jimmy Hoffa running our city. I can't think of a single city I would want to live in that's run by union bosses, like Chicago, like Detroit, or even San Francisco. I'd like to be a full-time city councilwoman, and I will listen and work hard to be your voice in Ward 4 on the Reno City Council. if we treat each other with respect, Reno will have a brighter tomorrow for ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren. I'm Bonnie Weber, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Bonnie. All right, Eddie, bring us home in 60 seconds.
I can't help myself. Where is Jimmy Hoffa? Oh, yeah. But anyway, I just really want to thank this group for bringing this debate today. As you saw in the paper, this council that represents you that didn't show up today said they lean a certain way. Well, then all of a sudden, Hillary Sheevy scrambled, and 2 days ago she could do a debate with me where I've been trying for a year and a half to get it on, but this added the pressure to where she had to fold, so I went to her own room. I don't care which way you lean, I'm here to talk to everybody. I don't care if you're left or right, I'm here to represent everybody because that's what a leader should do, and I listen to everybody. So I hope on election day I'll gain your vote. I'll do a great job. I'll put the public back in public service. It's been a long time. I won't be accountable to special interest groups and unions and casinos. Look at the C&E reports that give them hundreds of thousands of dollars and they show up and all their projects get approved. I promise I'll work for you. I'll do a good job. I've been a businessman in this community 32 years. Please, on election day, no matter who you're voting for, get out and vote. Don't let the unions control who your mayor or council members are going to be. And I say get rid of the incumbents and let's move forward. Thanks for everything. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate it very much. A lot goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you to all the candidates, school board and council, and mayor. Thank you all for coming. Please stick around for the second set of the run-up band.